quick walk through. These are the end bits. They have this bit attached on the bottom. They just pop into the slider stand like that, and obviously you tighten it there, or that's a baby pin there, so you can put it on top of a C stand as well. That will work. These main rails are 3.5 foot. They obviously work in pairs, so you could have these two for 3.5 foot, or I've chopped extra spare rails, so you could have 3.5 foot plus another foot, so that's 4.5 foot, or you could have these two plus those two, which would be 6 foot, or you could do these two plus these two, which would be 7 foot, or of course you could go 7 foot plus a foot or plus 2.5 foot. It's worth bearing in mind that if you use anything over 7 foot, you'll need this extension, so that just plonks underneath, and you would just have to use a third stand, which I do have, which goes in the middle. You'll see the carriage here. This literally just plonks on top of the rails. You'll see I've got V-lock plates and a NATO rail there. I'll show you in a second how that is used. Okay, gone with the 3.5 foot rails, just as an example. These end bits here, when you're mounting it, you really want to open both of them at the same time, pop your rails in, and then close them like that. These little bits here should be on the inside. You can adjust this and make that go right to the bottom. Same with that one. If you find that the stands aren't level for some reason, you have a brake here, turn that on, and then this has a bowl underneath. So you need to make sure that that is flat. Obviously that's best to do probably when your camera is on. So from here on in, it's all about the automated option with the arc. Already switched this on. I want to line up that to that, and then I want to move across the menu to mount on / off, and then sometimes I just give it a little swizzle just to make sure it's lined up properly, and then I go to that, mount on. It's going to do it automatically. So that's tightening for you. Then normally there's a key at the front there, and then you just tighten that down in the little crevice there. Just do that clockwise. Then the best thing to do is actually turn it off. Then you want to go to your connection cable, plonk that in there, and then the other bit goes on the left hand one. It is labelled. I might even put some tape on the right hand side there, and that pops into there. Again, don't turn it on. You want to connect your belt. I've got two belts, the 7 foot and the 10.5 foot. Any combination under 7, which is 2 full length rails, you want to use this one, which is the smaller one. And we're going to mount that by putting it in here. It's quite hard to do with one hand. But the main thing is you want the teeth facing away from you, and you want to put it in to this hole. Push this back, and as that's pushed back, thread that very simply through that hole there. And obviously, because this is a 3.5 rail but it's a 7 foot belt, you're going to pull quite a lot of that through. And then at this point, put the brake on, and then underneath you've got something that looks like this. So take off the little cap, and then the belt is going to come out of here and underneath, so your teeth are facing outwards. It's going to come through a little port here, round here, and then all the way you're going to come out, lift that up through there, pull that tight. And that's why you have to make sure that the brake is on. So this is now on. I've got the connection cable there. I've got the belt on. Again, I can't really show you with one hand, but this is how tight it is. I'm just going to lift that and pull that out here, and it should, oh, I've loosened it. I'm an idiot. It's pretty tight. I am going to show you the bottom. There you go. So really importantly, teeth that way. Okay, so this is where I would turn the arc on. Generally, when you try and connect it when it's on, it doesn't even sort of register it. Normal Manfrotto plate on the bottom here. This is just going to slide in. Oh, before I do that, you basically have to lift this thing here. It might be quite a tight fit, just sliding it in, and then once that's slidden in, that goes down there. Obviously the opposite for release, take it out, you just need that release button there, and that is our camera mounted. You'll notice this is sort of what I do for my setup. This is what these plates are for. Plonked a V-lock on here. Also there's a NATO rail here, which I've just plonked my monitor on, and they are both powered via these sort of D-tap cables and a little D-tap adapter. So if you're renting from me and you want to do a similar setup, this is a special FX6 D-tap cable, and this D-tap adapter adapter is really good as well. So you could add a Teradek as well. What it does is basically it takes the monitor away from the top of the camera, and also there's no massive battery pack like on the back here, because this can take 6-7 kilograms, but it's best to just go as light as possible. And the other sneaky thing I do, I've got another V-lock here, and I use this cable. I just plonk that one into the actual arc, which is very useful. That goes into there. Now, the arc obviously has an internal battery that lasts for like 5 hours, which is usually more than enough. You have got an adapter as well, like a power adapter, but it's really short, so just that's a write-off basically. It's really pointless. Basically, you want to just rely on the internal battery, but if you have this kicking about, just a simple V-lock solution with this particular cable, you can just plug it in, and as soon as you do, that basically means it's running off the V-lock, or essentially the V-lock is charging it as it goes. Very, very importantly, we're about to do the calibration. Do not do the calibration while that is plugged in, and your calibration ends up grinding up against here. So don't do the calibration with this plugged in. Think of this as like a charger if you need to go over 5 hours. This plugged in would literally last for like 15 hours or something, but the internal is about 5. To wake it up, you just give it a wobble, okay? That's quite important because some people think it's gone dead and you press the on and off button and that doesn't do anything. Actually, let's go to settings first. So you go to slider, motor location doesn't matter, type, make sure it's Rhino Dolly, and then you can select 7 foot or 10.5 foot joystick. Doesn't really matter. Camera weight large, I normally go. I don't even know what backlash is. Okay, so then let's go to calibrate. So click that down. It says ready to calibrate. Make sure your brake is off. Okay, so that's a good example there. Generally what it should do when you press calibrate is it should move all the way from wherever it is all the way to the end. There's a little quirk where it only moves a tiny bit. It only moves that little bit. So what you can do is just push it along, because it just needs to find the end. That's how it calibrates. And then just do the process again, and there we go, it's found the end. You can adjust the tilt there in terms of the calibration as well. Move it across to the end, all the way onto the left, and calibrate it at this point, and then it will go bloop. Then two things you can do. Fluid view allows you to move around this little nipple here, just left and right, and then this joystick pans from left to right, tilts up and down as well. But you're probably wanting to set up a move here, so let's go to video to do that. Left to right, it's gone to the start because we calibrated it. Then you go keyframe 1, and you just move it along to where you want to move, left and right. You might want to do a little pan, you might want to do a little tilt. This is all with the joystick, and when you're happy, you select Bosh, I'm happy, and then it straight away moves on to keyframe 2, and I'm going to want to move it all the way to here using the joystick, little parallax move, tilting up a bit, and then as I'm happy with that, I'm going to click keyframe 2. I don't want to add another keyframe, and then you go to duration, click on that, and you can take that up from 12 seconds to whatever, so let's say 14 seconds there. Loop, you generally want that on, so you have to change that, don't even know what that is. Start move, and you click, and it moves the whole thing back to there, and now we are ready to move. I just press go, and then it starts to move. Now you can pause this, and you can use the back button, which is the on button, and you can edit the keyframes. So if you find that your first one or second one is slightly off, just go to keyframe 1 or 2, which will be the beginning or the end, and then it'll take you to that point, and then you just edit it, just move it around slightly, and then that's that. So just finally, the main things that you need to do that completely avoid any calibration problems: make sure that this belt is teeth that way, threaded through properly, just like nice and tight, pulling it through either end while it's locked. Also, when you're calibrating, make sure that you're not powering it any other way apart from with the internal battery. Any other thing than calibrating, you're good to plop that in, and then you're good for literally the whole day off one V-lock. That's it. Just in terms of what people rent off me and whatever, I can obviously rent out V-locks. I'll probably include these plates on there. If you wanted any of these cables or this adapter or anything else you've seen, just let me know that you need it. Yeah, that's it.